Hello and welcome to Vets Clinic Live with me, Joe Ingles.
And me, Jez Rose, and Larry, the cat.
Larry, who's changed names. He was, what was he before?
Alan. Oh no, that was Alan. This is Larry.
This is Larry. This is Larry, the Feliway cat, of which more later on in the show. And we've got loads coming up today, and we've got some great stuff. We've got waiting outside, and we've got Jessie from Swindon's Needy Dogs, who've brought along Bert, and we're going to be featuring Bert, a little film about Bert later on, who's looking for a new home. So if you live in this kind of area and you're looking for a dog, he could be the one for you.
They don't have to live in this area, do they? They could travel up.
They could travel up, but yeah. That's
he would like a house outside of Swindon, I think.
How do you know?
Well, he just got that look in his eyes.
Let me
out, yeah.
Yeah, I know that look, yeah. So we've also got our Q&A, we've got some good questions coming up. Can you stop stroking that? It's rather putting me off. But
Sorry. Why, Mr. Ingles? Tell me about your products today. Sorry.
Right, we've got a great competition.
Yes, we have.
Which involves
now I can stroke
Jez
the cat.
and the cat.
And Larry.
And we've got this fantastic news about the puppy training
birthday party
Tell
today.
us about this,
yes.
Jez.
Yeah, so birthday party tonight. We're having a birthday party, aren't we?
For me?
No, not for you. Oh. For the 30th anniversary of puppy training. We're celebrating 30 years since the world's first off-leash puppy training class, which was, of course, my mentor, Dr. Ian Dunbar. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that a bit later on. It's tonight, that.
It's tonight, and what's more exciting, we're going to be filming live from the event tonight. Yeah. So 7 o'clock, put that in your diary for this evening, 7 o'clock, right here.
What's on at 7 o'clock tonight?
Well, we are.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's like, are we competing with something rubbish?
I think viewing figures. I mean, we're going to knock Emmerdale off top.
I reckon it'll be like a plane crash in Emmerdale. They'll all be.
Look at all these ITV bosses going, "What's happened to the viewing figures?" Oh, it's that TV. Yeah.
You should record whatever it is, EastEnders or something, and watch tonight. It's puppies and cake. What more could you need?
And Jez getting cake in his beard.
Yeah.
So. Let's have a quick chat about some of the news stories that are in the news all about pets. And the first one is roar. What do you think if I say roar to you?
I would probably raise an eyebrow.
Can you do one eyebrow?
Non-seductively.
Not very well.
Do you not think it's very well? I think it's Rabbit Awareness Week.
So rabbits, they're the third most popular pet. They're definitely increasing in popularity. We see a lot more of them.
Because they breed like rabbits, that's why.
Apparently so. But they're very popular as pets. And when I started practicing 15 years ago, we didn't see many rabbits. They were out there as pets, but they were very much children's pets. They came into the surgery to be put to sleep effectively, or injured or whatever. But nowadays, people see them, I think, very much more as family pets. So they're in for vaccinations, worming, neutering, just like a cat and a dog. And what about you in the behaviour world? Yeah,
we see a lot of rabbits with aggression, really, because they're not used to being handled when they were young, so then they get a bit hand shy. And also reactivity with other pets too. So the rabbit might go for the dog, or the rabbit might go for the cat.
I always thought the problem with rabbits is that they are prey species. So obviously a cat and a dog are really predators, aren't they? So they're quite confident, happy-go-lucky kind of things. But rabbits, it's in their sort of psychology to be scared, isn't it? To be constantly on the lookout. They've got their eyes on the side of their head. They're constantly aware of dangers. So I've always thought, do they make really very good pets because of that? But you'd say from a behavioural point of view, they can be happy.
Oh yeah. I mean, you've got to always watch the predatory drive, haven't you? You never take genetics out of an animal. We can only dumb genetics down. But yeah, I think if they're handled and socialised young enough, so they get used to it. It's just like hamsters, though, isn't it? Like if you handle a hamster or a mouse a lot, they like being handled. If they don't, they try to run off and bite you.
And how do you train a rabbit? I mean, how do you deal with an aggressive rabbit as a behaviourist?
Palm it off onto one of my colleagues, probably. No, I'm kidding. Do a lot of gradual desensitisation, start to build positive association with humans. That's how you'd start. But the really cool thing is if you start to stimulate rabbits, they get less worried about the situation that they're worried about.
How do you stimulate a rabbit with a carrot or something? Or
rabbit agility, Joe.
Rabbit agility.
It is brilliant. I'm not kidding. I know we have a bit of a laugh, don't we? Here we have a bit of a laugh.
In the West Country.
But you can actually get rabbit agility. It's like dog agility for midget dogs. It's all little ramps and little hoops and stuff, and it is brilliant. It's really good fun.
We have got to get pictures of rabbit agility. Rabbit agility.
And leads. People take their rabbits out on a harness and stuff, and that's normal. Oh, that. Oh, yeah. A rabbit on a lead.
So Rabbit Awareness Week is this week. If you want to find out more, there's a website which is rabbitawarenessweek.co.uk.
And what is the week about? Is it about just health or what?
It's raising the profile of rabbits.
Okay.
It's making people think about rabbits, and I think that's really important because a lot of people don't know we can protect rabbits with vaccinations, myxomatosis, viral hemorrhagic disease. There's some really good vaccines that we use here in Vets Clinic, which are an all-in-one one, so it's just once a year.
Wow.
You can get them neutered, and it's a really good idea to neuter rabbits and prevent some breeding. There's health benefits as well. Worming rabbits. There's a lot to think about with owning a rabbit, and I think it's good to just get people thinking about them rather than just putting them in the hutch and forgetting about them, and then bringing them in when there's a problem.
A bit neglected, really. They're a bit sort of again, it's like one of those commodity things, isn't it? You know, kids want a pet, and the parents think, "Oh, crikey, I don't want a dog getting fur everywhere. We'll get a rabbit," and then it ends up in a hutch. And you can clicker train rabbits too.
I'd love to.
Lots of really cool tricks to do with rabbits.
Can they shake hands?
Yeah, why not? Look at me putting my neck on the line.
So the next story we've picked up on from the news involves the oldest resident at Battersea Dogs Home in London, and this is a dog called Blackie.
What colour is he?
How do they come up with these names? It must be hard though, must it? I mean, I suppose he's probably being all Blackie, but if you're dealing with rescue dogs and you don't know their name, you must have a big list of names.
Yeah, and then you it doesn't know the name, so you'd be calling it and it'd just be chewing on its bone and think, what the hell is that noise?
I think our rescue dog Jack, he used to be called Dino when he came from France, and we thought, not France, from Ireland.
Right.
And within a week of calling him Jack, now he's completely Jack, and if you call him Dino now, he just completely ignores it. So it is possible to change names. Of course, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it is, Brenda.
So anyway, I think we've got a picture of this dog, Blackie, and he's the ripe old age of 19 years, which has been worked out to be about 133 in people.
Wow.
And he's looking for a new home.
That's incredible. 19 years old.
I've seen dogs in their 20s. So,
you've always got to go one back.
But from a behaviourist point of view, I mean, the old saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
That's right.
And that's rubbish, isn't it?
It is absolute rubbish. Yeah, you can teach. We teach dogs of all ages, all different things, including tricks and training and stuff too. So your dog is never too old to have fun.
For older dogs, isn't it? To actually. To give them some stimulation, to actually help them, as they're getting older, to try and fight back the effects of aging.
Absolutely.
Physical and mental.
Yes,
keep
of course.
Them stimulated, teach them a new trick.
A lot of people don't realise that dogs do get dementia too, and those degenerative psychological
and exercise
disorders.
can be very beneficial for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Puzzles and games. Yeah.
So the next story we've got is it's quite an interesting one. This is to do with puppy farming. And there's this fantastic association called CARIAD, which I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but the initial CARIAD, which stands for, I've got it here, it's well prepared, aren't I? Which stands for, can you guess?
The Canine Association.
Care and respect includes all dogs, and it also means beloved in Welsh. And this is all about puppy farming and raising awareness of the ills of puppy farming, which I think we're all agreed on. Puppy farming is terrible. But they're doing this fantastic event at the moment this week called 7 Days, and this is where one of the people from the association, Linda, is putting herself through 7 days as if she was a captive dog in one of these establishments. So she's in a cage, she's just being fed really basic food, no stimulation, not allowed at all out. I think we've got a picture here of her being in the cage there.
That's incredible.
And she's spending 7 days in there, and you can actually see her live. She's being streamed live. There's a website link that I think we're going to put up here on the screen. So if you go to that link, you can see Linda in action, and I think really important to help raise awareness for this terrible issue of puppy farming. So I'd really urge you to support that charity. I mean, I guess you must see the after effects of puppy farming, mustn't you? Sort of those puppies that people buy in a motorway service station that end up riddled with behavioural problems because of the start they've had.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the ones that we see that survive. Because of course there's a large group of them that are put to sleep or given away, and we don't know whatever happens to those. But it's super sad when it is the equivalent of procreating, of having a child, just locking them in a room for several years and then expecting them to not have issues. So
I've been quite tempted with our children at times.
But of course you wouldn't be able to do that because you don't have doors on your house.
Oh no, we've ascertained that last time, haven't we? But anyway, best of luck to you, Linda. Keep up the good work. I think she's only in there for another couple more days. So
she's doing it now?
She's doing it right now.
Wow.
You can go to that website. You can see it streaming there and offer your support. and anything we can do to help raise awareness of puppy farming,
absolutely.
And try and get it banned, outlawed, we will certainly do. So
good luck, Linda. And I guess, sorry, just real quick, the thing to learn from this is always find out where your puppy's from. It's just like buying a car or a house. Don't just go out and say, that's a really cute one, we'll get that one. All puppies are cute. Otherwise, I mean, if you went on that philosophy, you'd have a house full of puppies, wouldn't you? So make sure you've seen the parents, ideally both, and that they definitely weren't from a puppy farm.
Definitely, good advice. Right, the last story we've got is a pretty unpleasant one as well. It's a guide dog who was mauled by another dog. His owner, who obviously uses this guide dog, is calling for tougher justice for guide dogs, or for people whose dogs attack other guide dogs, and saying really it should be treated like an attack on a person.
Yeah.
So he's saying, well, a guide dog is so important, it's actually my life to me, and if someone who attacks this or their dog attacks it, it should be treated as if they're attacking my friend or person. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. The sad thing is it will probably never happen because the people that make these decisions never seem to be very sensible about it.
Do you really think, taking the other side of the argument, you're saying attacking a dog is the same as attacking a person, so you could go to prison for 5 years.
But that's
because your dog bit a guide.
But we're not talking about a normal dog, are we? We're talking about a dog that's worth in the region of some, I don't know, assistance dogs vary, but in the region of £30,000 because of the amount of work and effort and training that's gone into it. And this is the only thing that gets this gentleman out and about. Now, the offshot of this, of course, is that, and by the way, dogs are paired with people, so they then have to go through a process of learning how to do everything they've learned in, guide dog school, if you like, with the visually impaired person. So the problem here is that when the dog's mauled or attacked, they've got to be treated both with veterinary treatment and also with a behaviourist too, because of course now this dog potentially is scared of other dogs, or we end up with a dog that growls or barks at other dogs. So they either lose their career, that's £30,000 down the drain as a guide dog, but in the meantime this guy's got to have a replacement dog or somebody else take over his life. It's a big deal.
But still, would you say that's the same as physically attacking your child or someone?
I guess it depends on how much you like your child. But if you were to compare it and say, well, it's not just a normal dog, it's a bit like, I don't know, royalty, if you like. It's a bit like the Queen's dog. And if anything...
So how does that fit on topless photos of guide dogs? Are we on dodgy ground here? Have we got the photos, Archie?
No, stop.
Stop.
Not my holiday snaps. So I don't think, my gut instinct is I just don't think that legislation will ever be passed. However, we certainly need much, much greater awareness. It's like last week when you were on about dogs not being allowed off leash. Well, this dog that attacked him shouldn't have been allowed off leash because it didn't like other dogs, right? It should have been kept on a leash.
So what we're saying is that maybe that extreme of legislation won't happen, but perhaps something needs to be done to protect working dogs and make dog owners in general more responsible.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's a minefield, isn't it? We could have a whole episode. We've had several weeks. I've had a whole month talking about this one topic.
Let's do it.
There are. So let's start now.
Hey, we're on the internet.
We can do
what we want.
We'll have pizza shipped.
We're coming up. We've got Jez's Q&A. We've got some good questions. But first, let's just pick up again on our plans for this evening. So we're celebrating 30 years of puppy training.
Yep.
Tell us a bit more about the history of puppy training, because I thought, it's always been around, hasn't it? We've trained puppies.
I think that's what everybody thinks. 30 years ago, there was no such thing as puppy training. You had to wait until your dog was 6 months old, because generally people believed that when a dog...
Barbara Woodhouse, wasn't she around 30 years ago?
She taught adult dogs, not puppies.
Didn't do puppies.
No.
Okay.
Generally, they thought that when a dog's 6 months old, that's when the dog understands what you want it to do, which now we know is absolute rubbish, and actually the earlier the better. So Dr. Ian Dunbar, a veterinarian, English vet who moved across to America, decided to come up with a syllabus for his 8-week-old Alaskan Malamute puppy, and that's how it all started. And now here we are, 30 years later, with tons of puppy training. And there's a really cool story, actually. The very first time he did his puppy training class on TV, there were no puppy training classes off leash in the UK, and within 1 year 83 puppy classes popped up all over the country. So it was really, really popular. And so now this year is the 30th anniversary. We're celebrating that, so we're going to have cake for dogs tonight, peanut butter and banana. Doggy cake is for the dogs
from the Canine Cotswold bakery.
Yes, absolutely. And cake for us, and sweets for us, and drink for us,
near on royalty coming.
Yes, we have the Mayor of Swindon.
Mayor of Swindon, Mr. Mick Bray is coming.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes. His Lordship, Highness, what do we call him? Do we curtsy?
I think we probably curtsy.
Do we have to stroke his thing?
Moving on. So anyway, we are going to be live as well, 7 o'clock here. We're going to do a little show showing you what's going on at our wonderful puppy celebration this evening, hopefully featuring His Highness, the Mayor, amongst other things. So
and puppy push-ups tonight. Puppy push-ups. Yeah.
Let's leave that this evening. Okay. Okay, right, so it's competition time. We are doing a competition this time for our lovely Little Hearts cat treats. These are our Vet's Kitchen, really lovely natural cat treats. They're all full of lots of goodness, really tasty, lots of meat, 50% real meat or fish. You can buy them in Sainsbury's, you can buy them in Asda and Tesco's later on in the year. So we've got 10 lots of 2 of them, so they come in 2 varieties, crunchy chicken and duck and finest salmon and trout, and we've got 10 pairs of them to give away to everyone who gets our competition right. And the competition this week involves, what's his name?
Alan,
the Felloway cat. These are cats to do with Felloway, the pheromone diffuser. We found the place a bit overrun with them, to be honest, the clinic. We've been infested with these cats.
You say that.
So we sent Jez on a detective mission this morning, looking around the clinic to see how many of these cats he could find and round up. So what we want you to know for the competition is how many Felloway cats can you see in this film that Jez didn't see? I mean, I gather you didn't quite get all of them.
I didn't see any.
Didn't see any. Well, so we want you to say how many Felloway cats.
I don't think we should even run the video. It's pointless.
You don't think there's any?
I've looked. I went round.
Jez thinks there are none. You tell us how many we've got, and then this week we want you to email us your responses to media@vetsclinic.co.uk. So media@vetsclinic.co.uk with the number of cats you see in this video. The first 10 correct answers we pick out of the email inbox will get themselves 2 of these lovely Vet's Kitchen Little Hearts treats worth $1.39 each. So let's see how you got on, Jez.
I don't see why every week he makes me do this, actually. And last they're walking around like a dog. So this week we're looking for the Felloway cat, Alan. And Alan the cat is a little kind of white and purple cat, so we need to be looking around the floor because they're only little, right? They're like little kittens. And there are some hiding in Vet's Clinic. I've not seen any yet, but if you find them, now that's where you've got to start counting them, alright? Because there are some dotted about all over the place. Now, I'm going to start here in reception, obviously looking alone about the place, because that's where cats hide, and probably quite high too. But come with me, let's see if we can find any. Kind of looking again in places where cats would perch, really, on top of stuff. I tell you what. We'll start in the cat area. Come with me. This is the cat consultation room, or one of them on this side. Now, there are, of course, other rooms that we have here at Vet's Clinic. None here. This, of course, is the recovery and theatres. There's probably unlikely to be anything there in this way. In fact, probably the whole of this corridor to be fair, because we've got a theatre there. Fortunately, no doggies in operation. This is the X-ray room. Again, unlikely. Let's come through to reception. There's none really. I just can't. I just can't see any here, and I'm really sorry. I feel like we've looked, we've given it a good old look, because it's lovely and open and airy, you can sort of see everything that's here, so I'm really sorry, Joe, but I don't think there are any little Allens hiding about the place.
Well, I think you were more Inspector Clouseau than Hercule Poirot there, weren't you?
Well, I tried.
You tried. Well, who knows? So if you know how many Felloway cats were in that video, let us know. Email address media@vetsclinic.co.uk, that should be on your screen now. Let us know. The first 10 people will get 2 bags of Little Hearts cat treats, which is very exciting. So now, moving on to some more serious matters. Your Q&A,
yes.
Helping out some people.
Yes.
First question we've got for Jez today is from Richard.
Hi, Richard.
I have a new puppy. Any tips to prevent it becoming aggressive?
I have fallen in love with Richard. This is brilliant. This is the best thing. Nobody ever does this. I love clients that ask for preventative advice. It's really, really great. You are going to be a fantastic dog owner, and your puppy really lucked out on getting you, Richard. Very cool question. Yes. Socialise your puppy to lots of other puppies, so go to puppy training classes. You've got to go to puppy training classes. It's like having a child and not taking into education until they were 17. You've got to educate your puppy. You've got until about 18 weeks before they then start to enter adolescence, and so we've got to get puppy trained before 18 weeks, all right? And you ideally want an off-leash class so they can play and socialise, so that's that bit. However, more important than the puppy training, is to socialise your puppy. You need to see lots of other puppies, lots of other dogs, ideally 100 by the time your dog is 13 weeks old. Okay, now it's a load, all right, and you'll think, oh, that's impossible. Don't be scared off. Don't think I'll never do it. Just make 100 your target and get as close as you possibly can. All right, and the same with people and children too. So ideally 100 people and children by the time your puppy's 13 weeks old. And here's a little tip for that. Text a picture of your puppy to all your friends, right? Because everybody loves puppies. And if you say you've got puppy and beer or puppy and cake, you'll have a house full of people, right? So you text to your friends, say, yes, we want to see your puppy. You get them to leave their outdoor shoes outside. Very important. So there's no risk of parvo or distemper or any other nasties. Get them to come in, wash their hands, and get them to handle your puppy. Feed the puppy by hand, all right? And that is my last piece of advice here, because obviously we've only got a short amount of time, Richard, is don't feed your puppy in a bowl. It's an absolute waste of time. If you imagine that in a bowl you have 50 pieces of food for your puppy to eat and he eats them all up, great, he fed, but you could have used each one of those pieces of food as a training opportunity or given them to people, and so we use the food much more efficiently.
Yeah,
so,
we're not sort of to pick up on that.
No,
we're not sort of in danger of making this dog into a fussy eater or not having, because what about table manners? Shouldn't the dog put the food down, eats his food? You're saying actually that's not the right thing to do. It's better if you use food more intelligently.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a waste. You should capitalise on what you're using. If you just chuck him a bowl full of food, well, great. You may as well chuck him a bowl full of treats. Why don't you use those for training and socialising? And you phase out the food, by the way. It's not like the rest of your
food?
Yeah, you're not completely in training. So right. You can feed him in a bowl later on in life. But listen, we've got tons of free advice. On the Facebook page today, I will add, there we go, every week I think we should do this.
Absolutely.
I will add today on the Facebook page an advice sheet about puppy socialisation. How's that? All right, especially for you, Richard.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jez. Next is from Bex, who says, my dog always barks at other dogs and also growls on small children. And we're not quite sure whether this
Do you think that's growls at small children?
I think it probably could be. I mean, the fact that it growls when it's standing on a small child is probably more worrying than perhaps we can handle here. Let's assume it says at.
Yeah, all right, okay. So Bex, number one, you need to get some help from a behaviourist to work with you. It's nothing that we can talk about in 30 seconds here. I'm going to give you some advice to get you started and some management strategies. But if you've got a dog barking at other dogs and he growls at kids, that sounds to me like an uncomfortable or unhappy dog, and we need to work on those fear and those discomforts. So number one, funnily enough, links really well from Richard's answer, and that's you need to start hand feeding your dog. So you weigh out how much his breakfast or his dinner is, take it with you in a poo bag or a Ziploc bag in your pocket on a walk, and you feed your dog just his normal food when he sits nicely at the road, for example, when he looks at you, maybe do a little bit of recall on the lead. But you're also going to take with you something incredibly tasty, Pecorino Romano cheese or pet munchies we use here, sausage, something really amazing that your dog doesn't get at any other time. But when he sees a dog coming, we're going to teach your dog the best magic trick in the world, because when a dog comes, that's when he gets loads of sausage or cheese or good stuff. So the dog begins to think, I don't really like other dogs, woof, 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 woof. But pretty cool when I do see them because I get loads of sausage, right? And this is why you need to work with the behaviourist, because actually your dog might be barking and it might be saying, please let me go and play with that dog, and he might not have any intention of being nasty.
There's obviously lots of different types of barking.
Absolutely,
barking
yes.
as a warning, barking because you're angry or aggressive or scared or
there are 5
happy.
different types of barking with dogs that we look at.
Is
So
woof, woof?
there is.
Have I got them?
Yeah.
Let's
move. So get yourself a behaviourist, start hand feeding your dog, and whenever your dog sees another dog, let's feed it really, really tasty treats. So we begin to associate dogs with good things.
Good. Right, and the last question we've got for you is from Emily Small, who says, tips for a travel sick border collie, and maybe this is something we can both contribute to. Is there anything we can do or give Tim to help with travel sickness? If it's a journey over 10 minutes long, he's normally sick. He's always gone in the car since a puppy, initially no problem, but as he's got older, the problem has arisen. He is now 5 years old. Help.
All right, okay, well, any acute problems where it was fine before and now all of a sudden it's not, I would say pop along to your vet, okay? And if you're local, come see us. because we just need to rule out that there's nothing underlying going on from a medical point of view that may be causing associated behaviour problems. So let's rule that out first, otherwise there's no point us launching into a great big plan and actually there's something wrong with your dog.
There could be medical problems that are making a dog vomit, although the chance of them having a condition which is only triggered off by being in the car is quite slim. But we may look at that dog and find actually it's got some underlying problems and it's not very well, and it's just being tipped over to the point of being sick when it's in the car. So I think that's good.
And there are some really good products out there to help, and I would approach this from 2 points at the same time, so you've got a nice double spearheaded approach. One is, if you say my dog's fine up until about 10 minutes and he starts, it's really bad, start to take him out for maybe 5 minutes at a time, which finishes with tons of treats or a walk around the park or a play in the garden with Tug for half an hour. So the dog begins to associate the car with good things, and then gradually increase the amount of time that you're out with the dog, so that we're not straight away going for 10 minutes and over. And it means you might have to change your lifestyle a little bit so that you're managing the time that is in the car. And then I would use things like, for car sickness, we have a general plan with really effective results. I would use things like Thunder Shirt, so
reducing anxiety.
The Thunder Shirt we use here, and just comfort the dog a little more. I would perhaps use something like Adaptil, the pheromone diffuser, the collar, or even the spray on his bed in the car, and also through a dog's ear, or if you want the cheap version, which isn't as good but it's an alternative, is Classic FM. So calming classical music is what you want to try and do. So I'm nearly done. What you want to try and do is get to the point to calm and relax the dog so they're less stressed, because it's the stress and the tension, possibly the motion too, that makes them sick, and that's where the vet comes in.
I think there's two, as Jez says, two reasons dog is sick in a car. One is stress. The other is just simple motion sickness. It's the whole thing of, same with people, your brain thinks nothing is moving because you're looking at the car, looking at the seat in front of you, that's solid. But actually, we're going, my middle ear tells me we're going like this.
When you drive.
And the two are kind of conflicting, so that makes them sick. So really important to do what Jez suggested, but also really important to try and minimise the effects of motion sickness. And the way to do that is to make sure your dog can see out the front of the car. So if they're in the boot, then it's better to put them down the back seat and give them one of these harnesses which you can clip onto the seat belt, so they're not going to go flying through the air if you brake hard. Put them on a cushion or something so they can see up, they can look out the front of the window. That makes a really big difference to them. We can use medical things to reduce sickness. There's some tablets out there. We used to use ACP, which is a sedative, stops animals being sick, but there's a more modern one which can work pretty well for dogs that are being sick. So, if it's a real problem and you've got a specific journey you want to go on, then that can be worth doing, but it's not really a long-term solution. So it's more about, say, de-stressing them, making sure they can see out the front, even put them in the front seat if if you can secure them, get them in there safely. And the final thing, which is, I love this one, a lovely old wives' tale, is sit them on brown paper. And apparently, I was just told.
Klinic, always at the forefront of scientific development.
Sit on brown paper, and if you've got a dog that's having this problem, try sitting on brown paper, and if it works, let us know.
Is that the dog or you sit on brown paper?
No, the dog.
The dog sits on brown paper.
It's not going to work if you sit on brown paper.
Oh, I tell you what you could do. You could go to a sweet shop and get a bag of sweets, eat the sweets, put them on the brown paper bag that the sweets came in. Everybody's happy.
Great advice. Right.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you very much. Right, we've got one more question here, which is anonymous. But it says, I have a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, lovely natured dog, but I cannot get her to come back to me on recall, and she pulls on the lead. Two questions there.
Can we quickly snuck in there really quickly? Yes, we can. It doesn't come back to you on the lead. In fact, we answered that last week, I think. So go back in the annals of time into the Vet's Clinic and watch last week's or the week before. I think it was last week's episode, because I don't want to bore everybody else with that. But in terms of putting on the lead, dogs pull because you follow. I love the thought of dogs getting to the park. They dragged you all the way there, and they're running around and they meet another dog and say, "Oh, Rufus, is your owner really slow? Because I have to drag mine to the park." Honestly, and the other ones go, "Mine too, my owner's really," maybe it's a human thing, maybe they just walk really slowly, I have to drag them here. So what you want to do is make sure that the rules change. You teach your dog, when you pull, I'm not going to follow anymore. That's really the secret. So you stand nice and still and you let your dog pull and you do absolutely nothing. The longest it's ever taken me to teach a dog not to pull is 18 minutes. and you stand there and do absolutely nothing and wait for the dog to sit, and they'll pull and they'll bark and they'll jump and they'll, you know, spin around and try all different things to try and get your attention. Then when they sit, you say, "You are the best dog in the world," and you give them a piece of their dinner. And then you take one step and they'll pull like a steam train again, and they'll be jumping up and trying to get around, and you just stand there and do absolutely nothing. Don't say anything, don't do anything. They'll get bored, sit down, you say, "Good dog," give them a treat, take one step. The dog very quickly learns the rules have changed. We only move forward when I sit down and give her attention. And once you're taking one step and the dog's quickly sitting down, then you can do 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, etc.
I've seen you do this, and I can guarantee it does work. It's very, very impressive.
Thank you. Thank you.
A quick little aside, as we're talking cats.
Yes, of course.
So we're talking cats.
Yes.
Today with our competition. Don't
we
forget,
love
you
cats.
can still get your answers into media@vetsclinic.co.uk about how many times you saw this little felloway cat in the video. Cats and behaviour is quite often an overlooked thing, isn't it? We spend a lot of time discussing dog behaviour.
Yep.
What about cats? And let's start with teaching, training cats. How easy is that?
It's not as easy as dogs because of the attention span. You know, cats are quite solitary animals, aren't they? They go off and do their own thing. You know.
I mean, I suppose the classical view of this, which I'm sure you'll say is wrong, is dogs are pack animals, therefore we can teach them that we're the boss, they've got to do this, this, this and this. Cats are not pack animals, therefore they don't take being told what to do.
That's absolutely correct. And I would say that by your definition, cats are probably more like dogs because neither of them are pack animals. But because they don't live in packs, they socialise, and that's where the big difference is with dogs and cats. And this is relevant to the training.
You say that? I mean, let's just explore that point.
You say that.
But what about wolves? I mean, we've all seen nature documentaries. You've got a pack of wolves, or a pack of hyenas, or a pack
what
of wild
about
dogs.
elephants? You're going to say to me, elephants aren't dogs, and I should say to you, wolves aren't dogs. So we have dogs are a subspecies of wolves. We have very, very strong scientific evidence that dogs came from wolves.
Yeah.
But it's many, many generations now removed. They are not wolves. They're not. It's not. A dog isn't a wolf in a dog costume. And they're very different.
Wolves are pack animals.
Wolves are pack animals and have a very strict social hierarchy. You have a breeding male, a breeding female, and subordinates. It's very strict, very, very clear that these two guys at the top, the breeding male and the breeding female, are in charge. Because without the breeding male and the breeding female, you don't have a pack. That's why they're in charge. Now, with dogs, we know from many, many experiments that have been done, and you only have to look at feral dogs like dingoes, or just feral dogs in Morocco or other countries that have wild dogs. They don't live in packs. They get together, they might hunt together a bit or play together, but they generally are on their own. They live on their own. That the hierarchy we do have with domestic dogs is at best one of a very loose kind of associative friendship. It's not strict like wolves. So it's much looser. So when we talk about packs and my dog thinks it's the alpha dog and my dog thinks it's in charge and talks about leadership and stuff, we have to be very careful exactly what that means, because actually a lot of it isn't true. And when we start talking about pack animals and my dog thinks he's in charge, that normally results in people being a little bit nasty and trying to sort of fight for, the alpha status in the living room, and it doesn't exist.
I mean, we debated whether we were going to show the video of a certain eminent behaviourist being savaged by a dog trying to solve the problem of food guarding. And I suppose that's the extreme way of looking at this, isn't it?
Can I just say that it's not me?
It's not you. No.
Because it sounded a little bit like it was. When you said it and looked at me.
It's a behaviourist whose name he has in common with a Roman emperor, and also an Italian city.
That Mexican guy off the telly or something. I can never remember his name.
But there's a video of Caesar Milano, I've said him now, trying to sort out dog food guarding, and he does it with that very confrontational way. He says, I'm the boss, and the dog bites him, and
what we have to look at there is, why is the dog guarding the food? Well, the dog's scared. So the dog, it's really simple to look at. This is what frustrates me a bit, because we can get really carried away with this, and you just have to look at what you're dealing with. And what you're dealing with is a dog that's saying, get away from my food, buddy. I don't want you near me because this is my food. Yeah. So you don't. You carry on going forward and say, da 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 da. I am the little dog trainer. Sorry, that's really bad. Yeah. I'm a dog trainer, and I'm going to come and show you not to be scared of your food. So he gets closer, and the dog thinks, you didn't listen to me. I was growling at you and saying, get away from my food. So he makes him bigger and he shows his teeth more and says, get away from my food. And as
then these dog trainers say, well, he shouldn't be able to say that. I'm the boss.
Exactly. And as the threat escalates, so as you get closer to the food, so therefore the dog's reaction has to escalate because he thinks you're not listening to me, you're not seeing. It's the human equivalent of you're walking down the street and you see a guy stood right in the middle of the high street with a knife in his hand, and he looks at you and says, you're dead. And you say, oh, buddy, I don't want any trouble, honestly. And he comes towards you and you say, look, mate, please don't come any closer or I'll call the police, I'll scream. He comes closer, now you scream for help. He comes right next to you. You're probably going to push him away or punch him or do something in self-defense. It's the same escalation of threat. So it's all very well saying, oh, right, well, I need to teach the dog not to growl at food and I'm going to punch it and grapple it and all the rest of it. That only shows a complete lack of understanding of canine communication.
We've kind of digressed here a bit,
cats.
haven't we?
So cats are really lovely, and yes, cats take a little bit longer to train. What you have to do, that's probably a bit misleading. You have to train them slightly differently. Short sessions of a couple of minutes, but you can do them regularly, that's fine. And I would clicker train your cat. With species that are less domesticated, I don't want everybody to, I know cats aren't not domesticated, I don't want everyone to write in. But if you were dealing with an elephant or an exotic...
I take exception with the comments made.
I do not have wild cats.
Do we qualify for points of view?
I probably do. It's come on, it's the animal world. At least half the dog people in it will count for points of view. That have an exception to everything you say. It's not dog, it's dog. Now, come on. So I would clicker train your cat. It's really fun, really easy. Cats love it. They wait for that click. They're like, what do I have to do to make the click work? And actually, people don't think about training cats, do they? And there's so many people. You can do cat agility too, by the way. I'm not making this up. Cat agility, that's a cool thing. Look on YouTube or something. And I would teach your cat to sit on cue, that's fine. Maybe touch your paw, handshake, spin around. There's all sorts of cool stuff you can do with cats. It's really good fun
maybe
to
that's
teach
something
them.
we should look at in more detail.
The most common problem you get, by the way, behaviour problem with cats is litter tray problems.
Yeah.
And cats will not go in a litter tray if it's dirty. They'll look to go somewhere else. They love clean places.
They love clean bedding. My cats,
there you go.
Casper and Cuddles, they're fine now, touch wood, but we went through several sets of bedding when we were getting them.
Your bedding or the cat's
our bedding.
Right.
There's nothing worse in life, I think.
What did you do? Shut the door?
Shut the door.
Is that what you did?
There's nothing worse. I was just about to say, there's nothing worse in life. End of the day, ready for bed, all lovely looking bed. You get close to it, and you can see there's a sort of sat-on patch, and you think, I hope that's just a sat-on patch. And you get closer and you think it looks.
It's a shat-on patch.
It's a shat-on patch. And you get to it, and it's wet, and there's the smell of cat pee, and it's gone right through into the mattress.
What's worse is when you get in and it's all lovely and warm and you push your feet down to the bottom and you think, oh, that's lovely and warm, and you think, oh no, it's warm because it's through my toes.
Right. Let's move on. We've got some great news. We have beaten our target of 500 likes on Facebook.
Yes.
Ta-da!
Well done.
Thank you very much for everyone who's liked us on Facebook. Keep on going. We're going to have more competitions. But we had a competition when we get to 500, we're going to pick someone at random to have a free consultation with Mr. Jez Rose. And the winner of this is Emily Small.
Oh, congratulations,
so well done,
Emily.
We've got a consultation worth at least £57.
Well done.
So just get in touch with us, or we'll get in touch with you and sort out when you bring your dog or cat
Brilliant.
or rabbit, or
Brilliant.
make it a budgie or something really tricky.
Budgie would be fun. I love budgies.
So well done, Emily. And we'll have another competition on Facebook soon. So
and she gets a free tour, doesn't she? And tea and donuts.
Hold on,
half an hour with me.
We're not going crazy. Right.
Forward to seeing you.
So well done, Emily. So now we've come to a new part of the show, which I'm really excited by, and this is to do with dogs looking for homes. We've teamed up with a local organisation called Swindon's Needy Dogs.
Needy Dogs.
Swindon's Needy Dogs, and we've got a feature called this week's Swindon's Needy Dog of the Week. And each week we're going to feature one of the dogs they're trying to find a home for, and we're going to show you a bit of video about that dog, and really try and see if we can help them home these dogs, because lots of really needy dogs out there that have often been rescued from being put to sleep in the dog pound, so they're doing some fantastic work. After this short film about this week's dog, we're going to interview Jessie from the organisation, and I think Bert the dog is coming in. But first of all, let's see this week's Swindon's Needy Dog.
This is Bert. Bert is a SN needy dog. So we have no information about his background or anything before he came to us. But we do know when he was in the pound, he was getting very, very stressed. He started chasing his tail, also chewing his tail. It was actually quite raw. The end of his tail was quite raw, where he got really upset and stressed in kennels. And it was getting very, very serious for Bert. There was talk of having him put to sleep because there was nowhere for him to go, and because he was so stressed in kennels. And we put out an emergency sort of appeal for a foster home for Bert, one without any other dogs or cats. And Diane and Mark came up. It was literally on the last sort of day really that we could keep him. So it was, they saved Bert's life really. So we're really grateful for what they've done with him.
You just love cuddles all the time, don't you, mate? Good boy. Like to sleep a lot, loads of cuddles, strokes.
Started eating more,
yeah. Put on loads of weight now as well. He's just a lazy dog, really. Just likes lounging around in his basket, jumping on, just likes having the attention,
as
really.
As long as you give him a cuddle,
he's happy.
As long as you give him a cuddle as a reward, he'll do anything for you.
He's obedient, he does everything you tell him to do.
Every dog should be microchipped, absolutely everyone. The owners should be responsible, and I don't know how anyone could just leave a dog, abandon a dog, or even hurt a dog. That's just terrible.
Yeah, if you're not going to keep a dog, don't get one to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long commitment. Don't have one for a year and then get rid of Bert was just left out and just left on his own, wandering around. It's not on, is it, really?
It's awful.
It's not good.
Bert's obviously had a home. He's had someone that's known him for years before he came into the pound, and it makes you wonder why they just dumped him and why no one's come looking for him really. It's really sad.
Well, that was Bert the dog, and I'm really pleased to say we've got Bert here in the studio and Jessie from Swindon's Needy Dogs. So Bert, he looks like a lovely dog as we saw in the video. So let's talk a bit about him to begin with. What kind of home do you think we're going to find for him?
Well, Bert ideally needs to have a home with no other cats or dogs, possibly no other animals. We'd have to see how he went, because he gets stressed with them really.
Right.
We don't think he's been socialised properly, so we think really he'd be happier being an only dog.
Yeah.
He's quite an active, lively little guy.
How old is he? He's got a big grey around the muzzle, isn't he?
We're going for probably sort of 5 and up. Because he's been a stray dog, so we don't have any previous history on him.
He's lovely, isn't he?
But he's a lovely lad. When he came in, he was really skinny. He was in the pound, and he was really stressed in kennels. He was losing weight. He was chewing his tail. He was showing a lot of stress in the kennels. We put out an appeal for him. And we had some lovely people come forward who really, they saved his life.
So they're fostering him, are they?
Yes, they're fostering him.
But you're still looking for a forever home for him?
Yes, definitely.
So if you think you could give Bert a home, then get in touch with you directly. Your email address is?
On the card.
It's on the card here. So it's Swindon's Needy Dogs, Swindon's Needy Dogs at gmail.com. It's on the screen now. So get in touch. You can get in touch with us as well if you want to. But it'd be great to find Bert a home. So let's talk about the organisation. So you've been going for what, a year or so?
Yeah, just over a year now, really. But we've only been active really this year.
And tell them what I think let him have a wander around. Tell us about the organisation. Why you set it up and what you aim to do.
Okay. Well, it was actually set up by an animal control officer at Swindon Borough Council. She saw a need that somebody needed to find safe places for the dogs in the pound, and obviously she didn't have enough time with her job. So she decided to look for a group of like-minded people that would be interested in trying to save these dogs. So really what we do is a dog will come into the pound, we'll be notified within day 1, day 2. By day 2 we'll have the dog advertised on our website to see if we can find the owner, or if anybody's interested in fostering or adopting, or whether a rescue would be interested in taking the dog.
So really you're that link between this council and the sort of stray dogs programme and finding people home, because if you weren't there, what would happen to these dogs?
Well, historically, most dogs have managed to get out of Swindon Pound because we've had some very good staff in the council, but you never know how that's going to pan out long term. But realistically, if a dog doesn't find a place, it can be euthanised.
Right.
Usually it's only the aggressive ones or unfit ones, but we do sometimes struggle quite a lot. We've had dogs in that have been in the pound for 5-6 weeks, and we've sometimes had to find funding for their stay. which can be quite expensive.
And where do you find this funding from? Just fundraising?
Yeah, fundraising, appeals on our Facebook page, all that sort of thing, really. Asking nice people like yourselves.
Yeah. And how many dogs do you help sort of on a weekly, monthly basis?
Well, we get a lot of people that will approach us as well, because we don't just deal with pound dogs, we deal with any needy dogs in Swindon, really. Although they have to be quite needy, to be fair, because there's other organisations that can help with the less important. We've got a couple of people that are interested in behaviour, so we obviously get some of the dogs that have got behaviour issues. So some of our staff specialise in that sort of thing. Right. And they'll contact people and they'll go out and assess dogs, and then we'll try and find them a rescue space as well.
So you're just coordinating the movement of these unwanted dogs.
Really.
And I'm correct in thinking that Archie's one of yours, isn't he? The infamous Archie, who Maria here was looking after, and who caused a little bit of trouble. I mean, he's a lovely dog, but he didn't have caused some mischief, I think, with Maria. But he's found a home, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
So he's settled in well.
He's been here for a couple of hours before he was in here on the hot seat already. I was amazed at that. Yeah. He's found a lovely home with some people. I believe Maria sort of knows vaguely anyway. And he's got a lovely home with some children and that. So I mean, obviously we rehome with children as well. And he's got a good life now, really.
Oh, it's amazing. You just look at Bert here, and you wonder how on earth can he be a stray dog? I mean, he's lovely, just licking everyone, perfectly well mannered and well behaved. I mean, unless he's got some kind of things that are not obvious. I mean, actually, say that about Archie. He looked like a lovely dog. Put him alone with a pair of curtains, and he was a little demon.
After he was groomed, he looked lovely. I mean, like I say, Bert's got a few issues. He's not too happy around other dogs. I mean, I wouldn't say he's mega aggressive. It's just he's not happy. So I mean,
we need a session with Jez, doesn't he, to sort him out?
Exactly. But I mean, some of the dogs that we've just had like a little Daxi come in. Looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You look at that and you just think, why?
Yeah,
there's no obvious reason.
Well, it's like my dog Jack, and he's the lovely dog. I mean, apart from his phobia of hiccups, he's completely, well balanced and lovely. And he was rescued, and and he's well trained, very sociable. And you can't. I suppose it's family circumstances sometimes, isn't it? Yeah. Family splits up or something, and there's reasons you might not know about. But
we've got a little Jack Russell just come in actually. That's in the pound that we've nicknamed Little Jack. we were thinking the to foster.
Really?
Yeah.
Not sure Jack. Jack's not brilliant with other dogs.
Could have Jack and Little Jack.
Or perhaps we should feature Little Jack next week. So, because the plan is we're going to have here on Vets Clinic TV, we're going to feature every week a needy dog from Swindon. So, if you're watching regularly and you're looking for a dog, then you can watch and see which dogs we feature every week. If you're interested in Bert, just to give you that email address again, it's swindonsneedydogs at gmail.com. I think that is correct. You can get in touch with Jessie, and we'll try and find Bert at home, and we'll let everyone know next week if we've managed to do that. So thank you very much, Jessie. We're now just going to have a quick look. We're getting towards the end of the show, but I think I mentioned last week that my two lovely cats, Casper and Cuddles, had come in for neutering. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to show you what goes on here at Vets Clinic when animals are in for operations, how our online systems work so you can keep up to date with their progress. So this is a short video just showing what happened when Casper and Cuddles came in last week. Well, the day has come for our two young kittens, Casper and Cuddles, to come in here to Vets Clinic and be neutered. They're both in this little kennel together. They're mewing because they haven't had their breakfast. They've been starved overnight. And they're about to have their pre-meds. This is a sedative and a painkiller that will make them nice and drowsy before they have their anaesthetic. And then Ed the vet is actually going to do the surgery.
We gave Casper his pre-med to sedate him slightly and get some pain relief on board, and we gave him his anti-inflammatory tablet. We've now just shaved the fur over his leg, given him an injection of propofol just nice and slowly to let him go to sleep. Once he was asleep, we've sprayed some itchy beads into the back of his throat. That's just a local anaesthetic just to make his vocal cords less sensitive to us passing the tube. Having given that a few seconds to take effect, we've then passed an ET tube down to intubate him, and we've then put him on the anaesthetic machine, so he's now being kept asleep by the SIVO and also breathing lots of oxygen.
So Cuddles and Casper are downstairs. I think they're just about having their pre-med. Ed's looking after them. So I'm just going to log into my account, which is how all of our owners will be able to follow the experience of their pets when they're in with us. So if we look here, we've got Casper and Cuddles. So if I log into Cuddles, I can actually look here and see what Ed has done. So it says here appointment started, and then admission health check, so he's checked her over. And then look here, we can see that he's given her the sedative, which is 3 drugs called Domitor, Bupricare and Onzior, which are painkillers and sedatives. And there, look, there's a nice picture of Cuddles, look at that, in her bed there. She just had a pre-med, and so she'll be going through to have her anaesthetic soon. So that's one of the best things about our system, I think, is this way that people can follow the progress of their pets when they're in with us for an operation. They can keep up to date with these photos and bits of video, so they're reassured that their pet's fine, it's in good hands and it's being well looked after. And even for me here, I'm only upstairs and it's happening downstairs. It's just really nice to be able to keep tabs with how it's getting on with our cats.
Cat castration is a really straightforward surgery. Having got the patient anaesthetised, having plucked the hair around the testicles and scrubbed them up, we then make an incision in the scrotum over one of the testicles, cut through the skin, cut through the vaginal tunic to get the testicle out, separate the blood vessels from the deferent duct, the spermatic cord, and then separate one of those from the testicle. Then autoligate, which is a posh way of saying we tie the vessels together so that we're knotting off both blood vessels by tying those together, and then cut away the testicle. The knot on the blood vessels then pops back into the scrotal skin, and we just leave the scrotum open for that to heal over. And then repeat the procedure on the other side, incising the skin, the vaginal tunic, tying the blood vessels off and removing the testicle. With Casper, we're also giving him his microchip today, so we check that he doesn't have a chip, and then we implant the chip into the back of his neck and check that that's functioning. After that, Casper can wake up and he's ready to go home.
Well, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. Cuddles and Casper, I've just checked on the computer, they're all finished, and they should be finished recovering now. So I'm going to go and see them, see how they're getting on. Slightly nervous to see how they are, but I'm sure Ed's done a great job. So let's see how you're getting on. Here they are. 2 lovely little kittens. Hello Cuddles, hello Casper. What's happened to you then, eh? Oh. Hello Sunshine. Oh dear. So you see they've recovered a treat there. I mean, particularly Casper here. He looks great, doesn't he? You know, they're coming around nicely from the operation. They've had a bit of food, they've had a bit of water. They're going to be very sleepy for the rest of the day, obviously, but they've come through absolutely fine, which is great. And for me as an owner, I mean, it's been quite an illuminating experience going through the process that owners go through, you know, sitting there worrying about your pet, and actually be able to keep up to date with them during the day has been great, because although I'm here, I'm kind of off doing other things, consulting, so actually being able to just look at my iPad and see, you know, where Ed's got to during the day has been great, and it's been very reassuring for me. But it's just, nothing actually beats coming and seeing them again, giving them a stroke and saying hello to them. So that's been great, and I think now it's just a question of getting them home to the family. I've got 3 young children at home who will be very pleased to see these 2 guys again. Oh, lovely. So well done, Ed, and see you, get you home in a minute, Cuddles and Casper. Well, that is Casper and Cuddles, and I'm very pleased to say they're doing really well. They're at home, causing all sorts of mischief. But actually, having it done yourself, as a vet, you know, we're always giving
Having
advice.
it done yourself?
Well, to your own cats is what I mean. I mean, we always give out this advice, you know, keep them in, keep the collars on, don't let them go out. But actually, you get cats home, and you know, after 24 hours, they want to go and play, and it's very hard to actually follow your own instructions.
How long does it take to recover from a castration for a cat?
For a cat. Castration, I mean, really no time at all. I mean, it's a very minor operation.
Because I didn't know, hey, you probably all know this at home because you're much more intelligent than I am, but I didn't know that with a dog, when a dog is castrated, obviously it is a surgical procedure. They stitch up the dog, right?
Yeah.
But with a cat, you don't. You cut
don't.
the cat open, remove the testes or whatever, and then just leave it open.
Make a very little incision in the scrotum.
Right.
Pop it out and, you know, tie it off, and then you do leave a little, I mean, it's only a tiny little hole, and it's partly the position of the cat's bits are at the back rather than underneath, and it's just the way it's done.
So is that why cats are presumably not immune to infection from it, but they're much less susceptible to infection than dogs because of the positioning of them?
I mean, it's a tricky one. Why should that be? I mean, you'd say things are better off underneath, because if there is any infection, it will drain out.
Yeah.
And perhaps it's because we close up dog ones so it traps everything in there. But the incidence of infections is very low in dogs anyway.
Right.
But
then
obviously
don't
dog
you
testicles
use-
are that much bigger.
Right.
It's a different part of skin as well. I mean, at the back there's very loose skin in a cat that just kind of sits there.
Right,
quietly.
right. So it almost occludes it itself.
It does, yeah.
Wow.
But,
Fascinating.
and even with the cat's bay, I mean, you imagine if a human had an ovariohysterectomy, so womb removed and everything, how much of a major thing that would be for them in hospital for ages. Cats come home and that evening they want to go and climb the wall.
This is why I'm suspicious of cats.
You never said that when we were talking about cat behaviour.
No, I know, but if truth be told, I am. They're like women. They're fine, and then all of a sudden they're just unpredictably violent. Just.
How is your girlfriend?
She's all right, unpredictably violent.
And on that rather controversial and potentially sexist note, I think it's time to wrap it up.
No, don't. I got something to say before.
Have you?
Yeah, well, you've been talking
Is it
about
libelous?
cat's testes,
Yeah.
probably. We must remind you, 7 o'clock tonight, we're live here about the puppy party today. Puppy 30th anniversary of Puppy Train today. It's puppy birthday party, cake, the Mayor of Swindon, puppy games, some really fun stuff. So join us.
7 o'clock. We're going to be broadcasting
7
live
o'clock,
from here. Be all puppy action. So make
So
sure you tune
join
in
us.
this evening at 7. We'll see you then. Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.